Why do people worship things they create? Stone, wood, money, technology, power, ideas, even their own reflection. When we look at human history, we see countless idols. But this is not just a historical and technological question. Let's consider this as a warning against the possibility of forgetting the truth within us.
Because when we say idol, let's not only think of the idols described in history. At every moment of our lives, we worship the idols we create with our own hands, often without even realizing it. Today, let's pursue this question together.
I wonder what we have idolized. Let's think about it. Idolatry was not just a deviation as most of us think, it was born from a need of the human mind. The first humans saw lightning and were afraid when the sky thundered.
Wind, rain, sun, each was like a sign of an unseen power for them, a power they couldn't control or understand the reason for. They felt the need to give that power a form. That's actually where the first idol was born. Why might we have needed a form in the search for meaning, the desire to control, and the effort to shape?
Maybe because it is difficult to deal with the abstract.
Because the human mind works with cause and effect. Infinity is something that cannot be comprehended by the mind, and the unknown is frightening. That's why humans inevitably prefer the tangible, what they can see. Since they cannot grasp the unseen, they want to make it visible and immediately confine it to a form.
For example, they make a god out of stone with their own hands. They imagine gods who can see, get angry, and forgive like themselves. First, they create a figure to represent it. Then they exalt it. Finally, they begin to bow before it. They also forget the fact that they made it themselves. In fact, the effort to make sense of the divine eventually turns into diminishing and simplifying the divine. If we look from the earliest ages of humanity, for example, in ancient Mesopotamia, Egypt, India, and Greek civilizations, gods were represented with stone, bronze, or wood. Each god had a statue, and each statue had a temple. There are actually other reasons for the emergence of idols. For example, the need for security stemming from fear. In those times, natural events were not understood as they are today. Why does the sun rise? Why does it rain? They sanctified these forces in an effort to appease them.
Because the mind cannot grasp the abstract, it was difficult to imagine an infinite God. Humans need form and image. When they cannot understand the unseen, they turn to the visible.
The desire to control is, of course, another reason. A person thinks they can control the idol they made. For example, they offer it gifts. However, divine power can neither take shape nor be controlled. One of the strongest voices against idolatry in history is undoubtedly Prophet Abraham. The story told in the Quran is not just a historical event, but symbolizes a struggle we still experience today. When Prophet Ibrahim saw that his father and people made stone idols and then worshipped them, he asked, "Do you worship what you have made yourselves?" One day, while his people were outside the city, he entered the temple and broke all the idols. He only leaves the largest idol and hangs the axe on its neck. When his people return, they naturally ask in anger, "Who did this?" Prophet Ibrahim replies, "Perhaps the largest one did it. Ask him." The subtle irony here is actually a profound questioning. If your gods are truly powerful and alive, why couldn't they respond to what happened? Ibrahim undoubtedly wanted them to think, but of course, instead of thinking, they responded with anger. Because thinking requires courage, especially realizing that one is worshipping an idol, is confronting one of a person's greatest fears. In the story of Prophet Ibrahim, it is not just a rebellion against idols, but also a process of finding the truth. This story represents a person's inner awakening filled with symbols. According to what is told in the Quran, Prophet Ibrahim did not blindly believe in a God as his people did. He was a traveler who tried to reach the truth by observing, thinking, and questioning. First, he saw a star and said, "This is my Lord." But when the star set, he saw the moon brighter. "This is my Lord," he said.
But when it set, he saw the sun, the brightest, the largest. "This is my Lord," he said. "This is the greatest."
But when that too set, he finally called out with this awareness, "I have turned my face towards the creator of the heavens and the earth." On the surface, this story might seem as if Prophet Abraham truly worshipped the stars, the moon, and the sun. But from a spiritual and philosophical perspective, this story is a symbolic map of an inner journey.
There are 3 stages in this event.
The star, the first glimmer, is a symbol of hope, mental confusion. The moon, for example, intuition, a symbol of inner enlightenment, but still insufficient. The sun is the greatest apparent knowledge, brightness, but still temporary. And the awareness that finally comes is this.
None of them are real, because they are all transient.
Here, Ibrahim is seeking the truth with his mind. Logically, nothing created can be God, because it is finite, and the finite can never replace the infinite. The story told through Prophet Ibrahim is actually the story of all of us.
In the modern age, there are no stone idols, but other things have taken their place.
Our bank accounts, achievements, fame, social media likes, followers, the titles we assume, the ideologies we hold, even our perception of beauty, everything we call I, all our false selves. Breaking idols is not just about smashing statues outside. The real idol is within us, silencing the voice in your mind that says, "I am God." This is actually breaking the biggest idol. What you idolize may seem like a source of light, but in the end, they all melt away like a candle.
And in the end, a person realizes this. I am searching for eternity, but everything is temporary.
It is at this moment of realization that inner enlightenment occurs, just like in the story of Prophet Abraham. This story shows us that it is possible to reach the truth through thinking, questioning, and observing. Not rote learning like a monkey, not imitation, but genuine faith built through contemplation.
Are we reviewing all our belief patterns? To whom, to what?
And why do we believe? What are we enslaved to? When you see the transience of what you have, can you see the true light that is truly eternal within? Because truth becomes visible where idols are broken. When idols are destroyed, a person is left mostly alone with themselves. And perhaps for the first time, they confront their own reality, the emptiness within. That emptiness is the most frightening part, because previously everything was filled with patterns that gave it meaning.
In Sufi teachings, they say if the cup is full, truth cannot be placed inside. First, empty it so it can enter.
We are so full of ourselves, our egos, our achievements, that to allow true meaning to settle within us, we must first rid ourselves of these burdens on our backs. Breaking idols is not as easy as it sounds. It is a very great inner revolution. A person should be able to give up everything they call I or think they are. Today, maybe we don't go to temples, we don't make stone gods, but the way we look at our smartphones, the meaning we assign to a brand name bag, the ego we inflate by saying I.
The most dangerous idols are the chains in the mind, the identities, titles, labels we impose on ourselves, everything we say, I am this, I am that.
The things that distance us from our true essence.
The biggest one is actually saying, I am now complete. Because with this sentence, learning closes, development stops, the heart hardens, pride grows. This is also a spiritual idol, more dangerous. However, true freedom begins when we let go of what we cling to. I did it, but it wasn't me who did it. I said it, but it was him who made me say it. To be able to say, I knew, but it was he who made me know, In appearance, you act, but in reality, both the action and the doer are Him. Living with this awareness does not deify a person. On the contrary, it humanizes them. The Quran defines not only worshipping statues, but also idolizing one's desires as idolatry.
According to the Quran, an idol is anything that a person places in the position of God, including themselves or other things. Even a religion one creates can turn into an idol. An idol begins in the mind before it is made of stone. In Rumi's Masnavi, it is mentioned like this: the idol is not in the infidel's house, but within you, in your heart. Remove it from your heart so that your heart can be a mirror to the truth. In other words, every single truth in your mind, every absolute belief, every state of I am right is an idol. This is already the most well-known game of the ego. You create something, an idea, a work, a system, and so on. Then you start to glorify it. You think that what you have done is not inspired by the creator who made you, but by yourself. Then, without realizing it, you sanctify it. You claim it. In fact, what you sanctify is not that, but yourself. Although idolatry seems directed outward, at its core is the self. Therefore, at the heart of the issue lies this:
The person who worships what they create has actually deified themselves. In today's scientific world, a theory has emerged.
The belief gene in humans. It has been suggested in research that a special gene, called the God gene, could be linked to mystical experiences and spiritual tendencies. Individuals with this gene have more inner intuition, a sense of belief, and spiritual experiences.
Sufi teachings had actually answered this long ago. They say that a person inherently carries their connection with God, so whether you realize it or not, you are already connected to Him. In the Quran, it is stated like this: I am closer to you than your jugular vein. The desire to turn to the Creator and establish a connection is already a sign of the promise made before coming to this world. This event is called the Primordial Covenant. It is said that this event took place in a dimension where souls gathered before earthly life. The verse says, when your Lord said, am I not your Lord? They affirmed, saying yes, bearing witness to this divine connection.
Whenever a person feels an emptiness, whenever they start searching, they actually feel that promise like a whisper in their heart.
That's why humans desire eternity, seek permanence, and chase meaning. And deep down, we know that we belong somewhere.
We are here to remember this. Why is there a belief in a creator in every culture? Why does humanity always seek a first cause? Because the human mind always works on cause and effect. Everything that is somehow designed must have a reason.
Nature, stars, the universe. This magnificent design, such precise calculations, balance. All existence cannot be based on coincidences.
Whether aware of it or not, a person's constant search for a first cause inevitably directs them towards the divine. Because they desire immortality, they fear meaninglessness and try to find their meaning. They feel their own inadequacy. They want to reach what is complete and perfect. The effort to return to one's essence never ends. Everything we have is entrusted to us. We don't even own our own bodies. We have no power. Even when we produce or create something, we owe everything to our Creator who gives us that power. Reaching the truth starts with taking the right step within ourselves.
Because the journey begins not outside but inside, with love and understanding.